The young man, Marcus, arrived early at the village square. His head was filled with dreams, grand visions of wealth, yachts, and private islands. He had heard that an old, wise Stoic, known for his life of simplicity, could offer guidance, so Marcus eagerly sought him out. The old man, Callius, sat on a stone bench, his eyes fixed on the birds in the trees. As Marcus approached, Callius didn't move, but a subtle smile crossed his face. "So," Callius said, breaking the silence, "you seek riches, do you?" Marcus, eyes gleaming with ambition, nodded vigorously. "Yes, sir. I want to be wealthy, like Jeff Bezos. I'm ready to work hard, make millions. No, billions. I just need to know how." Callius chuckled, a deep, raspy sound that seemed to echo through the air. He motioned Marcus to sit beside him. "Ah, Bezos. Yes, let me show you something." With surprising agility for his age, Callius leaned down and began drawing circles in the dirt with a stick. "This," Callius began, pointing to the first modest circle, "represents $1 million. Marcus leaned forward, fascinated by the simple drawing. "$1 million. I can't even imagine that much money." Callius smirked, and then drew a slightly larger circle. "And this is what $10 million would look like." Marcus's eyes widened. "Wow, that's huge." Callius nodded, then drew an even larger circle, 3 times bigger than the last. "Now, here's $100 million. At this point, Marcus could hardly contain himself. His mind raced with thoughts of sports cars, lavish vacations, and endless shopping sprees. Finally, Callius took a deep breath and, with a grand gesture, drew the largest circle of them all, a behemoth of a shape that seemed to engulf the smaller ones entirely. "And this, young Marcus, is $1 billion. Marcus stared at the enormous circle in awe. His heart raced. "That's incredible," he whispered. Callius looked at him with a twinkle in his eye. "And Jeff Bezos has 117 times this number." Marcus's jaw dropped. "That's impossible. How could one man have so much?" The old man shrugged, amusement dancing in his eyes. "It's not impossible. It's reality. But there's something you've overlooked." "What's that?" Marcus asked, confused. Callius tapped the dirt with his stick, right in the middle of all the circles. "You! There's you, sitting here dreaming of these circles. Tell me, do you have millions saved up, a bank account filled to the brim?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Well, no, I'm working a job right now, but it feels like I'm barely getting by. I went to university, got my degree, and, well, life's expensive. Rent, bills, groceries. Everything eats away at what little I make. And don't even get me started on the student loans hanging over my head." Callius nodded knowingly. "You see, that's the thing. Most people are like you. They work a job, make just enough to get by, maybe have a little credit card debt or student loans looming over them. They dream of wealth, but it feels like a distant fantasy, something reserved for the lucky few, the born rich, or the crooked. You look at those billionaires, and you're baffled. How did they do it? Why can't you?" Marcus sighed deeply, his excitement slowly deflating. "Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's like the game is rigged, and I'm stuck on the losing side. Callius raised an eyebrow and leaned in closer. Ah, but what if I told you that you were wrong? Marcus looked up, surprised. Wrong? About what? There is a way, Callius said, his voice steady. A path to wealth. A path that doesn't involve luck or cheating or being born into riches. But, and here's the kicker, it's not easy. It's filled with challenges, hard truths, and difficult lessons. And not everyone makes it to the end of the road. Marcus perked up slightly. What do I have to do? I'm ready for it, whatever it takes. The old man smiled faintly. Patience, young one. Let me start with this. What do you really think about money? Is it something you work for, or is it something that's just inherited? Is it the root of all evil, or is it simply a tool? You see, most of what you think about money has been shaped by your upbringing, your environment. Callius paused, letting that sink in. Marcus thought for a moment. I guess I always thought you had to work hard for money, but I don't know if that's true anymore. Some people work so hard and barely scrape by. The old man nodded. Exactly. The world, your schooling, society, it's taught you an equation that's all wrong. Money equals salary earned from a job. Right. But tell me, Marcus, do you really think that's how millionaires and billionaires got their wealth? Marcus furrowed his brow, thinking hard. No, I guess not. But then how? Callius grinned. It's about time. Time is the most precious resource we all have, and when it's gone, you can't get it back. The equation you've been taught, working a job for a salary, is flawed because you're trading time for money. And no matter how much time you trade, it will never be enough to reach the kind of wealth you dream of. The young man's eyes widened in realization. So what's the right equation? Ah! Callius leaned in, his voice dropping to a near whisper. You don't chase money. You chase problems. You solve problems. And money chases you. Marcus blinked, processing the words. Solve problems. Like what? Look at the richest people you admire, Callius said. Jeff Bezos solved the problem of convenience. People didn't want to leave their homes to shop. Elon Musk solved the problem of sustainable energy. Oprah. She solved the problem of media representation and inspiration for millions. If you want money, Marcus, solve problems. Problems that are big enough to matter. Marcus's mind whirred with possibilities. But I don't have the skills to build the next Amazon or Tesla. Callius laughed. You don't have to start that big. Start small. What are the people around you complaining about? What annoys them? What do they wish existed? Listen to the world around you, and when you find a problem worth solving, solve it. But, Callius held up a finger, make sure the solution is scalable. That means it can grow beyond just your neighborhood or city. It can reach the world. The young man sat back, awed by the simplicity of the idea. So, I should stop focusing on money and start focusing on solving problems? The old man nodded. Exactly. And once you've found a problem, make sure your solution can scale. Automation and scalability are key to building wealth. Create something that works even when you're not. That's the difference between creating a job for yourself and creating a business. Marcus grinned, a spark of hope returning. And once I've done that... Callius leaned back, his gaze turning back to the birds in the trees. Well, then comes the reward. Either you continue building that business, or maybe, just maybe, someone buys it from you. Think of Instagram, sold to Facebook for $1 billion, or PayPal, sold to eBay, which made Elon Musk millions. The path to wealth is solving problems, scaling the solution, and reaping the rewards. Marcus's eyes gleamed with newfound understanding. So, it's not about the money. It's about the freedom that money can bring. Callius smiled warmly. Now you're getting it. Money is just a tool. What you really want is the freedom to live life on your own terms. But remember, it's not the money that brings happiness. It's the meaningful pursuit of solving problems and creating value. Marcus stood up, feeling more alive and motivated than ever. Thank you, Callius. I think I understand now. The old Stoic gave a nod, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. Good. Now go find a problem worth solving, and maybe open a bakery while you're at it. He chuckled. As Marcus walked away, he couldn't help but smile. The old man's words echoed in his mind. He wasn't chasing money anymore. He was chasing something far more valuable: purpose, freedom, and the joy of solving problems. Part 2. Marcus returned to the village square the next day, his mind still buzzing with the wisdom Callius had shared. As he approached, the old Stoic sat in the same spot, his eyes fixed on the horizon, seemingly lost in thought. "Back so soon?" Callius said with a knowing smile, not bothering to look at Marcus. The young man sat down beside him. "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about solving problems instead of chasing money. But how do I know what problems are worth solving, and what makes something valuable?" Callius nodded slowly, as if he had been expecting this question. "Ah, now you're getting into the heart of it. You see, young Marcus, in a capitalist society, the rules are quite simple. You are paid in proportion to the perceived value you offer. And who decides that value?" "The market." Marcus guessed. "Exactly. The market is made up of people, your friends, your family, your neighbors. It's the consumers, the economy itself. They decide what has value, not you. People often complain that football players are paid too much, but they fail to see the real reason behind it." Callius paused, giving Marcus a moment to think. "Football players?" Marcus asked, puzzled. "What do they have to do with this?" The old man smiled. "Think about it. People pay millions for football matches, jerseys, merchandise, and TV rights. Why? Because they value football. The market for football is huge, and because of that, players at the top of their game are paid handsomely." Marcus frowned. "But that doesn't seem fair. I mean, football players are just kicking a ball around, while people like cleaners work hard every day and barely make enough to get by." Callius sighed, his expression softening. "Ah, fairness. Many people struggle with this concept. But the truth is, value isn't about how hard you work. It's about the perceived worth of what you do. The cleaner may work tirelessly, sweating through long hours, but the market doesn't perceive his work as highly valuable because it's easily replaceable. Anyone can learn to clean, and therefore, the value is low." Marcus felt a twinge of discomfort. "So, you're saying the cleaner's work isn't important?" "No, not at all," Callius replied, his tone gentle but firm. "The cleaner's work is essential, But the market, the people who decide what to pay for, view it as something that can be done by almost anyone. Meanwhile, the accountant who saves a company thousands of dollars in taxes is perceived as more valuable because not everyone can do what he does. The key word here is perception. Marcus sat quietly, absorbing this. So it's not about how hard you work, it's about how much the market values what you do. Callius nodded. Precisely. And this is why the path of chasing a traditional job, working for a salary, is not the best way to achieve wealth. It's not just about working harder. It's about understanding how to increase your perceived value in the eyes of the market. Marcus was still grappling with the idea. So, how do people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos have such high perceived value? The old Stoic leaned back and smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. The first step to understanding wealth is simple. If you want money, solve problems. The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. Marcus's eyes widened. That's it. Just solve problems. Callius chuckled. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But think about it. Every business, every product, every service exists to solve a problem. Look at Amazon. Jeff Bezos solved a problem that people didn't even realize they had. He made shopping faster, more convenient, cheaper. No more waiting in line at stores. No more searching for products that were out of stock. Amazon solved a billion-dollar problem, and Bezos was rewarded accordingly. Marcus leaned forward, intrigued. So if I solve a big enough problem, the money will follow. Exactly, Callius said. But here's where most people get stuck. They think they need to create the next Amazon or the next Facebook to get rich, and they get overwhelmed. They think, I don't know how to code, or I don't have the money to start something that big. But that's just old thinking. You're already limiting yourself. Marcus frowned, feeling the weight of doubt creeping in. But what if I don't have a big idea? Or I don't know how to solve a billion-dollar problem? Callius raised a finger, signaling Marcus to pause. Hold on. You're falling back into the same trap. Don't focus on the scale of the solution just yet. Start small. Always start with a problem. Look around you. What are people complaining about? What are they frustrated with? What do they wish was different in their lives? Marcus thought for a moment. Well, I guess people are always complaining about things. Traffic, long lines at the store, not having enough time. Callius nodded. Exactly. These are all problems. Now, not every problem is worth solving. Some are minor inconveniences, but others are worth millions or even billions if you find the right solution. So, how do I know which problem is worth solving? Marcus asked, growing more curious. Callius smiled. Ask yourself, is it scalable? Can your solution reach a large number of people? If you can solve a problem for just one person, that's good. But if you can solve it for millions of people, now you're onto something. Marcus sat up straighter, his excitement returning. So, it's not about finding the biggest problem right away. It's about finding a problem, solving it, and then scaling the solution. Callius clapped his hands together. Now you're thinking like someone on the path to wealth. That's exactly it. Don't get bogged down in thinking you need to build the next Amazon overnight. Start small. Listen to the market around you. What are people frustrated by? What are they willing to pay to fix? That's where the money is. Marcus felt a surge of hope and understanding. I see it now. It's not about working for a paycheck. It's about offering something that people value, something that solves their problems. Callius grinned, his eyes full of warmth. And that, my friend, is the truth about money and wealth. It's not about chasing money. It's about solving problems. Do that, and the money will come chasing after you. Marcus stood up, feeling energized and inspired. Thank you, Callius. I think I finally get it. The old man waved a hand dismissively. You're welcome, boy. Now go out and listen. The world is full of problems waiting to be solved. As Marcus walked away, his mind was racing with ideas. He wasn't just chasing money anymore. He was ready to solve the problems of the world, one step at a time. And for the first time, the path to wealth seemed clearer than ever. Part 3. A few days later, Marcus returned to the village square, his mind brimming with ideas. He had spent countless hours reflecting on what Callius had told him, and now he had more questions. The old Stoic sat in his usual spot, his posture relaxed and his eyes half closed, as if meditating on the world's mysteries. Marcus sat down next to him, feeling the familiar mix of excitement and curiosity. Callius, he began, I've been thinking about solving problems like you said, but how do I know if the problem I'm solving is scalable? Callius opened one eye and grinned. Ah, a fine question. You're beginning to understand. Let me explain, young Marcus. The final step in this journey to wealth is not just solving a problem, but finding a solution that can grow, one that can scale to reach many people. That is the key. The old man leaned down and drew 2 more circles in the dirt, much smaller this time. Let's say you open a restaurant in your town, he said, pointing to one of the circles. You've solved a problem. People need to eat, and maybe your food is excellent. But you're limited by the number of people who can come to your restaurant each day. Your solution is tied to your location, and no matter how popular it becomes, it can only serve so many. Marcus nodded, starting to see the limitations of such an endeavor. Right. There are only so many customers you can serve in a day. Exactly, Callius replied. That's not scalable. Your restaurant is tied to a physical space, and you can only be in one place at a time. But now, Callius drew a larger circle next to the first. Let's say instead of just one restaurant, you create a franchise. Now, you've taken the same concept and allowed it to spread. With the right systems in place, your business can grow beyond the boundaries of your town, city, or even country. Now, that is scalable. Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. So it's not just about solving a problem, but solving it in a way that can reach more people. That's how wealth grows. Callius nodded. Exactly. And the more people you can reach with your solution, the greater the potential for wealth. Now think of software. Once a piece of software is built, it can be sold an infinite number of times, without worrying about physical limitations like shipping or production. It can reach people across the globe at the click of a button. That's one of the most scalable solutions there is. Marcus thought about this for a moment. But what about someone like a yoga teacher? Let's say they charge 100 tons per hour. They can't scale that, can they? The old Stoic smiled knowingly. Ah, you've just described another common trap. Many people believe that if they're offering a service, they're running a business. But in reality, they've just created another job for themselves, one where they're still trading time for money. A yoga teacher can only offer so many lessons in a day before their time runs out, which means their income is time-bound. Their solution isn't scalable. Marcus leaned forward, eager for more. So, what should they do? Callius chuckled. If they were wise, they would create an online yoga class, lessons recorded once, but offered infinitely. Now, students can sign up at any time, from anywhere, and the teacher's work continues to generate money without them needing to be present. That's scalability. Their effort is no longer limited by time. You see, Marcus, the key is finding ways to detach your income from your time. Marcus grinned, finally grasping the concept. So, the idea is to create something that works even when you're not working. Precisely, Callius said, clapping his hands together. That's why automation is so important. Systems and processes can keep your business running smoothly, even when you're not there. Whether it's software, an online platform, or even a franchise. You need to find ways to scale your solution so it doesn't depend on your presence. And if there's something that can be outsourced, do it. Just because you think you're the best at something doesn't mean you should be doing everything. Marcus nodded. But what about the passion people always talk about? You always hear that you should follow your passion when creating a business. Callius raised an eyebrow. Ah, the myth of passion. Let me tell you something, young man. The market doesn't care about your passions. It cares about solutions to its problems. If your passion aligns with a problem worth solving, then you're fortunate. But if you build a business purely based on what you're passionate about, without considering the needs of the market, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The words hit Marcus like a cold splash of water. So, it's not about what I want to do. It's about what the market wants. Callius smiled softly. Exactly. The market is your customer, and it's their problems, not yours, that need solving. If you focus too much on yourself, you risk missing the bigger picture. Marcus sat back, letting the lesson sink in. So once I find a scalable solution, automate it, and focus on the market, what comes next? Callius's expression grew serious. Now comes the time to reap what you've sown. Once you've built a business that runs smoothly and solves a scalable problem, you'll face a choice. Continue running it or sell it. Many entrepreneurs reach this stage and sell their businesses to larger companies for a massive payout. Think of Instagram, sold to Facebook for $1 billion, or PayPal, which earned Elon Musk millions when it was sold to eBay. These are what we call acquisition events, where all the work you've put into building the business finally pays off. Marcus blinked in astonishment. Sell it? But why would someone sell a business they've worked so hard to build? Callius leaned back, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. There are many reasons, young Marcus. Perhaps they want to move on to other ventures. Perhaps they've built the business to the point where they no longer need to manage it and are ready for the reward. Or perhaps they see more value in selling it now rather than continuing to run it. It's a personal choice. But the key is, at this stage, you've earned the freedom to decide. You're no longer bound by the grind of day-to-day survival. Marcus felt a thrill run through him at the thought of it. So, if I do all of this right, I can reach that point too. Callius smiled warmly. If you stay on the path and focus on solving problems that matter, there's no reason you can't. But remember, wealth is not just about the money. It's about the freedom it gives you, the ability to choose how you spend your time, to live without the constant worry of financial burdens. And that, Marcus, is the ultimate reward. Marcus stood up, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you, Callius. I understand now. It's not just about solving problems. It's about finding scalable solutions and building systems that work even when I'm not. The old Stoic gave him a nod of approval. You've learned well, young one. Now go out and find that problem worth solving. And remember, the journey doesn't end with money. It begins with the freedom it brings. As Marcus walked away, his steps were lighter, his mind clearer. He wasn't just chasing wealth anymore. He was building something far greater, something that could change his life, and perhaps even the world.
If you enjoyed the video and story, please consider subscribing to the channel. We sure do appreciate it greatly. Thank you, and God bless.